Hello everyone, I am Muhammad Irfan and this video is brought to you by Mavio. Follow us on social media and let's connect and build together. So until now we have looked into predictive modeling, comparing different models and evaluating them. But today we will be moving forward into model validation and algorithmic fairness in healthcare data science, and this will help us ensure accuracy, trust, and equity in patient outcomes. So let's get into it. First thing is that there are two terms of discrimination versus calibration. So the difference between discrimination and calibration is that discrimination is the ability of a model to distinguish between classes, for example, positive or negative classes. And the primary evaluation metric that we use for discrimination is area under receiver operating characteristic curve. And we have already seen this in the previous code. On the other hand, calibration is the accuracy of probabilistic estimates. For example, if our model predicted a patient to have 20% chances of sepsis, so we have to look if every patient with the same conditions, every 20 patients with the same conditions out of 100 develop sepsis or not. So calibration is that probability should be accurate. The probability that our model gives should be accurate. So to measure discrimination, we have already seen these areas: area under receiver operating characteristic curve and area under precision recall curve. So the first one is that it's a trade-off between sensitivity and specificity across thresholds. So it's basically a trade-off between true positives and true negatives. And in this figure, we can see that the perfect classifier has perfect area of 1.0. On the other hand, area under precision recall curve is also important in healthcare data science because most of the time our data is imbalanced. We work with imbalanced clinical data, for example, rare mortality events. So we also need area under precision recall curve for that. And then high discrimination ensures high risk patients are prioritized correctly. Then calibration, mapping model outputs. So we can, there are not no direct evaluation metrics for calibration, but we instead we map model outputs to other models like Platt scaling, which is basically using logistic regression to map outputs to probability space. For example, if we have a binary classification model which gives two results, either the patient has the disease or not, positive or negative. So what plate scaling does is basically it gives probability to those results, to those predictions, and it is best for smaller data sets. On the other hand, we have isotonic regression, which is a non-parametric mapping, and it is highly flexible but requires larger validation sets to avoid overfitting. So this is for complex data sets, and the plate scaling is for smaller and more simpler data sets. But our goal is to align the model's subjective score with objective probability. So the probability should be accurate. If our model gives 20% probability of a disease occurring, then that probability should be accurate because in clinical data science that accuracy matters the most. Next we have that why fairness audits matter. So models inadvertently learn biases from historical data. We must ensure predictive tools perform equally well across demographics. So, for example, if we train our model on historical data, and historically a group or a demographic of a group of people have been treated with discrimination, then our model will learn to ignore those people, and our model will learn to have a bias against that specific group. So to prevent that, we do fairness audits to prevent disparities, avoid exact. Okay, next, let's look into fairness audits and why they matter in clinical data science. So we know that models learn from the data they are trained on, and the historically that data could be biased, or that data could be discriminative against a certain group of people, a certain demographic. So we must ensure predictive tools perform equally well across all demographics, and our model does not hold a bias, and our model does not learn a bias against a specific group of people or a specific demographic. So We need to prevent disparities and we need to have the trust of clinicians and patients. So there are three types of fairness audits. The first is group fairness, in which we audit our model against different groups of people and to ensure that the model generates or the model predicts or behaves the same across different demographics. And then there are individual fairnesses, which ensure that similar individuals with similar clinical markers receive similar predictions regardless of their group or their demographics. And bias detection is using statistical tests to identify disparate impact in automated predictions. So these are the types of fairness audits that we run against our models to make sure that there is no bias against a certain demographic or certain group of people. Then there are the regulatory frameworks like the FDA 510, which is not only an ethical requirement but also a legal requirement. So this framework treats our model as a software as a medical device, and it must have clinical validation, analytical validation, and human factors, which is the evaluation of clinician AI interaction. So our model must be proven benefit for intended use. It must have reliable performance metrics, and then the human factor. So the FDA guidance is that evidence that the tool is both safe and effective is mandatory for market clearances. Fairness and validation are now central to these audits. So before we can run our model in production, and we need to clear these regulatory frameworks and we need to comply with these regulations. And they are both ethical and legal requirements. Then we have the interpretability, which shape is basically the values which breaks down a prediction to reveal feature importance. So the problem is that medical professionals or clinicians, they don't like black boxes. They want to know the reasons behind why a model predicted what it predicted. So they need an explanation, and for that we use shape values. And there are two types of shape values that we use. First, the globals, which is basically which features matter across the entire hospital populations. And then there are the locals, that why was this specific patient flagged as high risk or low risk depending on the prediction. Then there is building the clinical dashboard. So until now we have learned up all about the statistical and mathematical part of our predictive modeling. So now to actually use our models for the use of clinicians or medical professionals, we create visualization tools for clinicians to see risk scores alongside explanations and feature importance and all that. So we can use Streamlit or Shiny or any other framework to make these analytical dashboards. And these dashboards can be hosted on a secure clinical cloud like AWS or Microsoft Azure. And we have to track and validate the metrics in real time. Then the infrastructure, which is the model registry. So until now we have looked into training the model. For example, we trained a tabnet model and an XGBoost model. That is a training phase. But next comes the registration phase. We register our model in, for example, Vertex AI or AWS SageMaker for tracking. Then comes the auditing phase, where we check our model for fairness and calibration check. Then we have to deploy our model in production for traceable versioning. So every clinical decision must be traceable back to its specific model version, because we need to hold every model accountable. Every prediction must be logged and it must be traceable back to its specific model version. Then the case study is the readmission audit that model that we trained in the previous lecture. We processed data, we refined it, and we had the outcome a balanced model providing equitable risk scores for all hospital patients. Then there is this mathematics of calibration, the plate scaling formula, which we use the Brier score, which is basically the which judges the probability, the accuracy of a probabilistic prediction. So the perfect Brier score is zero point 0.0 and its value ranges between 0 and 1, and this is the formula. And we use two parameters, a and b, and the scores are between 0 and 1, so they are basically probabilities for our outputs. Then there is this summary of what we have covered until now. We covered validation, interpretability, fairness, and analytical dashboards. So this was all for this lecture. Thank you.